Brothers and sisters, the month of Ramadan is a month wherein many of us become more charitable than we are outside the month of Ramadan. Perhaps one of the reasons may be that the reward in the month of Ramadan is multiplied, and therefore people would like to hope and wish that by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they were to be charitable in the month of Ramadan, perhaps, mashallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be more pleased. Let's remember one thing. If a person happens to delay an act of charity that is due before Ramadan, or that is necessary or needed before Ramadan, because they would like a bigger reward in Ramadan, then that is wrong. The reason is, if it is needed and required, we need to give it as and when it is needed. And by the will of Allah, Allah knows the intention, He will give us a greater reward. There is no point in seeing a man dying of starvation and telling him, wait for Ramadan, then I will give you a charity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. However, when it comes to charities, there are several types of people. Some people are balanced, mashallah, and that is a mu'min. A true believer is supposed to be balanced. You know your income, you know how much you've saved, and you give what is due, and you give more than what is due for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That which is zakah is compulsory, and that which is beyond zakah, voluntary, that too we should be giving. Make sure that the amounts are quite handsome by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, there are some who don't give. They seem to just stick to whatever they have. They keep it. They find themselves miserly, and they find it difficult even to calculate that which is just 2.5% of their zakah, their compulsory charity, so to speak. And then you have those who are so generous that they give away even what they need themselves. So sometimes you have a piece of clothing, subhanAllah, it's covering you, and the next best thing, you've taken it out and given it to someone else. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us achieve a balance. Remember, there is a narration that appears of Jabir radiallahu anhu in some of the books of tafsir, where he speaks about some of the companions who used to give so much that they used to later on have to go and search for some of their own basic necessities. And there is one narration where it is mentioned of the Prophet ﷺ himself, out of his generosity and his care for others. There was a man who came to him and requested something, so much so that he requested a piece of clothing, and the Prophet ﷺ, according to one narration, gave him a piece of clothing that was needed by the Prophet ﷺ. And therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us all as a result to strike the correct balance. Let's listen to the verse. Verse number 29 of Surah Al-Isra. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ يَدَكَ مَغْلُولَةً إِلَىٰ عُنُقِكَ وَلَا تَبْسُطْهَا كُلَّ الْبَسْطِ فَتَقْعُدَ مَلُومًا مَحْسُورًا. Do not tie your hand or shackle your hand to your neck. That is an Arabic phrase which means don't be so miserly. Don't be so stingy you hold back when you have to give, and it's not going to cost you much when you have to reach out to those in need. And don't stretch your hand so much, which means don't become so generous that you give away even your own basic needs. And Allah says, strike a balance between the two. If you were to give everything, perhaps you might sit at loss. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us a good balance, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who know how to give, when to give, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from us.
رمضان تجلى وابتسم طوبى للعبد إذا تنما